welcome to another episode of We're Not Wizards. My name's Richard. I'll be your host for December. Jingle, jingle, jingle bells, because it's full Christmas time now, except it is in a couple of days, but by the time I put this out and edit it, it's going to be like December time. So, I thought it would be nice to get somebody who is hardworking, who is dedicated, who is an influencer, somebody who does reviews, somebody who does previews, who he doesn't try and hold back on his views. You could even say he's maybe he's a bit unfiltered. Because joining me from the Unfiltered Gamer is Mr. Michael Wright. So, hello sir, how are you?
How you doing? Pretty good, pretty good.
Good. I'm kind of, I don't know, you're like in my Pokemon collection of people I had to have on the show.
You gotta catch them all, and I'm one of those.
You are.
As long as you're not gonna put me in a bag, in a ball, in a box, because I don't want to be in a prison. I want to be on your shoulder, okay?
Okay. Well, I'll need to think about that because, I had the guys from Tantrum House, and they're I was thinking about getting them next, and maybe one of them's potentially shoulder material, and then obviously if Rodney Smith turned up, he's definitely shoulder material. I'm sorry, he has to be kind of trotting about like a Pikachu. I've just compared Rodney Smith to Pikachu. So I don't think we can. I don't think
I'm
we
sure
can
you appreciate that.
I'm sure it just cements the fact I'm never, ever, ever gonna have him on the show. But this isn't about Rodney, it's about you. I'm kind of delighted to kind of have you on. For people who have not listened to us before, thank you for joining us. The reason that we do this is because I wholeheartedly believe there is quite simply not enough podcasts out there about board gaming that are recorded by me, which is why we're on episode 220 something. I don't know, I'm just keeping going. Like the Terminator, can't be stopped, not even by Sarah Connor herself. More. Just more, it's more is always good. As Gordon Gekko, if he was making podcasts about board gaming, he'd be doing millions of them. Just like Wall Street. And the second reason that we do this, as I say, is because, Michael has been involved in the industry for quite some time. He has been doing a lot of, he's putting out videos left, right and centre. He's providing reviews and previews and a lot of guidance and a lot of, just general, kind of cracking content for people who are, interested in the hobby. So it felt like a good time to get him on to have a chat. We want to have, obviously.
I'm happy to be here.
Delighted you're here. In terms of if we step back just a little bit, how did you kind of get involved in the hobby? Kind of first of all, what were your first kind of steps, your history with the hobby?
So I originally worked, I went to school, got my degrees in psychology and statistics, and then after that I decided to go into the film industry. I live in Los Angeles, California, for an easy location for you guys to figure out what that is. And I did different films. Some of the stuff was from Asylum, Sharknado being a popular one of theirs. I did some acting in a couple shows. You might even find me on Netflix if you look really, really, really hard. And after that, for a couple of years, my back started going out a little bit, and I wasn't able to carry the lights. I had a lot of gaffing work and that kind of stuff, and a lot of taxing physical labor. So I decided that I wanted to do something that involved film. I wanted to do something that I had a passion for, and I wanted to integrate my award-winning personality into all of that. So I decided to start doing some videos, and I just started with, a black background in my phone and, pumping out content. I've got my site. I went, added all that stuff up, and, I've just been, going crazy ever since.
What kind of actor were you then? Is there kind of character roles that you'd like? Have you got a film or genre that you would like to be in? Are you kind of a comedy kind of guy? Are you quite serious kind of actor, or is it?
I wouldn't call myself anything serious. Like I said, I did gaffing and I did the lights and I did the shadows and effects and stuff like that in the movies. But the acting was very small. I mean, I probably did a couple backgrounds. I did a speaking role or two.
Wow.
I was a bouncer. I was a werewolf. Just like little fun things.
You were a werewolf.
But realistically, I did a lot more of the tech side, a lot more of the grip and gaff, that kind of stuff, which was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But definitely different than what I guess you would assume a person would do in LA. But yeah, so I took all that talent that I had, or that little talent I had, and then I just integrated it into the board gaming realm. Started, shaking hands with people and meeting people, and yeah.
All right. Okay. Were you interested in kind of like board games for a while then, or was it something you were kind of doing on the side before you kind of decided, actually, let's pick up a camera and start kind of filming yourself talking about it?
It was a heavy hobby at first, and as I continued to play games and all that kind of stuff, I got really more into it. I started, increasing my collection like most of you do. You probably start with like 1 or 2 games, and then you go to like, 100 or 200. And, so I'd play every weekend, and I decided that, you know what? Well, I want to play every single day.
Have you got quite a large collection of games then? I mean, are you because of the nature of your work, because you're doing this full time, I take it you actually wanting to have the kind of a new board game turning up, that must be almost like at least a second day or third day occurrence that you must be on first name terms with like the UPS guy and things like that, because he must just know you and, here's another box of games kind of thing. Are you quite strict on kind of what you hold on to in terms of the collection? I mean, is there like an unfiltered gamer collection, which is everything that you kind of bring in to kind of preview and review? And then is there, this is Michael's kind of stash that I kind of look after and take care of kind of thing?
So, I do get a lot of games. I don't know if I would classify myself as anything near like the Dice Tower, Undead Viking, or any of those guys. Rather, they get a lot of games.
Yeah.
But I probably get 1 or 2 every day or every other day. So I get quite a bit, and I show them off every week on Wednesday on my live streams, which is kind of cool. So people get to see what's coming in and what's going to be for review and whether they want to watch my videos or not. I have at my house, of course, my big bookshelf of my personal top 50 or 60 games.
Yeah.
I've also got all of the games that I'm currently reviewing all queued up in another specific area. And then I have all the reviewed games that I really enjoy. That's in a specific area. And then I've got everything else scattered around in the studio. You've seen my videos, I'm imagining, maybe 1 or 2 at least.
Yeah.
And, there's just, I try and move them around, and I have them in the garage. Games that are good, but ones I don't play as much, or I'm not as big of a fan, I usually will give to charities. I've given to tabletop takeover events. I will have given them to people that like it. I have 2 schools that are sponsoring me. They have little game groups, and I'll just send them yearly game packages of games that I've gotten to play. Yeah. So Extra Life is another charity that I like to donate to that's here in California, and they're like a children's hospital. And
I've heard of them. Yeah.
So a whole bunch of different little things like that. But yeah, I have a lot of games. I don't even know the count, to be honest, anymore.
It's just a case. I mean, how do you deal with the space then? I mean, do you get to a point where you have to just say, right, okay, these things, they're just going, whether I kind of like them or not, they just have to go and live somewhere else. Otherwise, we're going to have no place for cereal, kind of thing. There's no place for kind of the work.
After my first 1,000 games, I now, whenever I get in like 20 or 30, I'll switch out 20 or 30. And I mean, there's a lot of games. I don't know, I like a lot of games. As long as they're, not broken and they have some cool theme or something interesting, or even if it's a game that's not even like something that I would normally like, but I had a lot of fun playing it, whether it was because of the group of people or just the theme. I'm like, oh, it's so cool, But realistically, there's only so much space, so a lot of it goes in the garage, and then the games from the garage will go out to the charities and to events. I have a lot of games that come in that are unopened, of course, that I either already have a copy of or are meant to be a giveaway. So on my site, I actually give away a lot of these games. Every 2 weeks, I'll have 2 or 3 giveaways that I'm constantly giving away games. In fact, I've got 3 of them on my site right now.
All right.
one of them being How Game Are You, which is a Kickstarter game, and then another one is some other kind of party-style game that I actually haven't played, but the designer was kind enough to hand me a bunch of copies, so...
Oh, right. That's cool. So what's in the kind of, what's in your kind of, I guess, your wine cellar collection, the ones that you kind of have on your shelf that...
I actually have, right behind my battle station, is what I like to call it, my area where I do podcasts and my editing, and my editor does his editing next to me. I have a big stack of games on my smaller, I have a little smaller, like Michael's favorite games, and they're all sitting right behind me.
What are you kind of looking at? I mean, out of the stuff that's got
Sure,
there,
I can go ahead and list off a couple. So I have the others, the Seven Sins game by Simon. I've got Clank, a popular game. There is Cthulhu Wars, a Sandy Peterson game.
All right.
You've got Mansions of Madness, Flick 'em Up, Five Tribes, Deception, BSG. I got some Descent. I've got some Galaxy Trucker, which I personally love. There is Thanos Rising, a new favorite of mine, Lucidity by Shannon Kelly. Game. And Rex, Summit, Kingsburg. Those are the ones I see offhand, but there's probably an extra 50 or so there.
And is there a particular kind of style of game that you kind of like, a particular kind of mechanic? I think when people are discussing and describing mechanics, I think mechanics are starting to kind of gel a bit.
My top 5 mechanic video came out today.
Yeah.
Me and Jackie from Show Me How to Win.
I know. Which is why yes, that's why I mentioned it.
Go watch the video. No, but if you want to have a spoiler though, Deception is my favorite. Deception, or if you want an actual mechanic, it would be like a hidden roll or a hidden card that you utilize throughout the game. So a card you start with face down, whether it be a character or a roll or that kind of thing.
I mean, is there games that that you don't have in your collection that if somebody kind of sent to you, they'd be going straight on the shelf kind of behind you?
So, I know this will probably be odd, but I want the new Looney Quest expansion. It's an interesting game that isn't trader-based.
Not what I was expecting. Yeah, that's not what I was expecting.
Yep. And then I also want Catacombs, which is a dungeon crawling flicking game. See, I like a lot of games. I don't really have a wheelhouse like the Heavy Cardboard likes heavy games, or Show Me How to Win likes large Euros. Ferdinand the Cardboard Stacker, he likes worker placement style games. If it's fun or it has a cool theme, I'm down to check it out, And as long as, like I said, as long as we're not yelling at each other throughout the game, but that can be fun too. I got banned on Facebook for a month for a crazy werewolf shenanigans we had as our live stream last month.
Were you howling?
So we get a little rowdy, yeah.
Did you back
how many board gamers have you heard of getting banned?
I think usually
I haven't caught it. Most thing I use them.
I'm a bit of an introvert here kind of thing, and there's oh no, go and see Michael because he's just shouting and howling the place kind of down. Did you back Catacombs then? The latest Kickstarter campaign's been out. Did you kind of go in with that and back that?
I'm not allowed due to my wife to buy any more Kickstarter games.
Oh.
Because there's so many that I review and that I enjoy. I feel like it's kind of unfair if I just pick and choose, if I like them all similar, if there's a lot of them I like very similarly, that are right on par, 5 out of 10, which is a standard game for me. So on the occasion, I'll sneak one in. I'll go ahead and shout out Mythic Games for Solomon Kane. I did pick that one up because it was too gorgeous to pass up. But I try to stick to my wife's rule of not buying games too much due to just how many we get in. And the fairness from, all our friends, creators, and all that kind of stuff.
I am going to just bragging rights here and say that our logo's on the front of the latest Catacombs third edition box. I don't know. This is what happens.
Oh, well, this podcast is over. I'm done. You just
I win. No, I don't. I was just like, Aaron says, because I've been speaking to Aaron for years now, and Aaron's, and we love Catacombs. It's one of, we spoke about Catacombs Conquest.
It's just been a game I've really wanted to play. I've never played it, but I've just seen it. Everybody's talked about how much they enjoy it. I like dungeon crawls. I like flicking games.
Yeah.
But I've just never got it. It's on my top 10 wish list right now, so we'll see eventually here.
I mean, I think at the moment we have to do some kind of charity appeal and say that, if we put on the sympathetic voice and say, Michael is determined to live out his dreams. And one of those dreams is to flick some discs.
I'll do a doe-eyed picture for him. I'll have like a sad face with like fake tears running down and like a little sign in my hand saying, please help, Something like you would see a sad cat video, but that would just be me. It wouldn't look as good though, because it'd be a hairy, tall, big dude. But
just have a little sign that just says "discless."
Perfect.
Just have it sitting in front of you, and make sure you've kind of got tear stains on the kind of the front of the sign, and we can send a photograph to Aaron, and I'm sure that he'll look at that and then say, "I'm too busy." No, I mean it's a fun game. It's worthwhile, and it seems to be one of these things where he's taken the product and he seems to be constantly looking at innovating it and making changes, not for the sake of just putting out another Kickstarter, but actually looking at like making the changes and making it better. There's a big kind of community behind it, which he's been actively kind of saying, right, okay, what ideas have you got? And then they've been giving him ideas, and he says, right, we're going to be putting this in this version, we'll just write into the rules. So he's very, very kind of responsive to it. But you said, you were heavy into the hobby, and then but what actually was the driving force behind you actually saying, do you know what, I'm going to film, I'm going to talk, because the board game media space seems to be full of a lot of channels which maybe only have 5 or 6 videos. Do you know what I mean? Where people say, right, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this.
There's like 10 different channels that are like over like 50,000 or even maybe less. Yeah. And then there's like channels like mine that are maybe around 8 to 15,000. And then there's a bunch that are like, 50 subscribers or 100 subscribers. And those ones only have like 5 videos. Yeah. So yeah, I wanted to produce content for a niche subject, and I think Kickstarter is, very rampant. It's been rampant in the last couple of years, and I like to give eyes to those creators that are trying to innovate and change the way games are made. Mm-hmm. And because you see a lot of the larger industry type peoples and or companies, they are making games that they know will sell, which is fine. Like I like Clank, I just listed it, but they're gonna make 6 or 7 iterations of that game because they know it's going to sell. Whereas I want somebody to make Clank, and then I want them to try and make another innovative game, Mm-hmm, and so that's why I'm always looking on Kickstarter, and that's what was like focused me and fascinated me. I mean, I've seen games where one of them I played recently is Gravity Warfare. You literally played the game on a 3D board, and you can actually move your characters upside down on the board. Like, that's innovative. Whether you like it or not, or whether it was done right, is another thing, and that's up to you as a person. I mean, I gave my opinion on my review, but honestly, that kind of thinking is what I enjoy in games, and seeing the new and interesting things that kind of are brought up. Even like the game The Mind is another one, right? Where no one talks in the game. Nyctophobia? Yeah. Where you have to close your eyes. That kind of stuff I'm so fascinated by, and I love the creativity that people bring to those games. Mm-hmm. So that's what interests me and drives me, and that's why it makes me pick these games. And it just so happens that in this hobby, there's a bunch of them on Kickstarter, some not as good as others, right? But being able to give a voice to all those platforms, and even for most games will have at least some kind of audience, and I want to kind of direct that audience to that game.
Yeah. Do you have like a set of rules that you follow kind of internally if somebody approaches you kind of with a game? I mean, do you have kind of like, if I said, okay, I got this card game that I really, really need, I'd love it if you kind of looked at it. Is there certain kind of criteria that you lay out for people that you prefer them to follow, to have, to do before they, kind of sent you a review copy of the game or a prototype version of the game?
I don't know how a lot of people do it, but I have a very simple system. You go on the site, and you'll see everything that I do, and it's pretty easy to navigate.
Yeah.
Then you can go to our promotions, and you can pick a package. Some of them, the review is free, and then the higher you go up with the package will include the review, and you could buy, I don't know, a banner or a live play. So you can pick from those, right? And that's how I make my money, is through advertising.
Yeah.
And of course, people send me just copies of the game, if they want. But once you pick those, and then you add any add-ons, like I said, whether it be a banner or a Facebook banner or whatever, then you go to our contact, and there's a form you fill out, a Google form that will tell you, click all the boxes that you want. And after that, you will have our address on the bottom of that contact form. So if you want to send me like a rotted shoe or some dead apples or whatever, you can do that as well. But after you fill the form out, you just go ahead and send the game over, and I will go ahead and take care of the rest. And it's a really easy system. I make sure to get every video out on time. I think I've only missed 1 or 2 in the last 2.5 years, and I've done over 400 reviews. So I think that's very important. I also have specific rules on which games I won't cover. Specifically, if it's a game we really dislike, I don't see I don't want to I don't want to create a hit piece for somebody, because I don't think that helps. But I also won't create a review for a game that I completely because I want to remain unbiased as possible. And it's really hard to do in this industry, right? You got to pick and choose your battles. So if it's really terrible, I'll just send it back to him and say, here, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be, I can't do that. So, but that's rarely happened. Most games have some kind of audience or some interest to somebody, and I can bring out the highlights. And in my reviews, I always specifically say, there's the positives and the negatives, and then I want you to decide. So I don't really usually give my full, I don't say, buy this game or do not buy this game. I don't do that usually. Unless it's a game that's amazing, then I'll go ahead and throw that in. Or if it's a game that it just made the video tipping point, but not enough for me to send it back, I'll be like, I didn't like this game. However, there's an audience for it. Chartered, The Golden Age is a game, like Acquire, right?
Yeah.
And, the game is well done. If you like Acquire, you will enjoy this game.
Yeah.
Everybody I played with enjoyed it, but I hated it. I don't like Acquire either, though, so... You know what I mean?
But I mean, in that kind of situation, I mean, if somebody, one of the things that kind of gets leveled at anybody that's critiquing a kind of a piece of, be it kind of board games, be it video games, be it art or whatever, if there's some kind of money involved, there's the whole thing that comes up about, well, if you give you money, you're always going to kind of give it a good kind of review. So have you had to be really kind of strict sometimes on what you're saying? Do you double check, obviously, in your head kind of what you're saying and make sure that you're kind of towing that fine line so that somebody doesn't say, well, you're only saying they should be looking at this because they paid for a kind of promotion package?
That's an excellent question. And realistically, no matter what you do in this industry as far as doing a review, whether it's get a copy of a game or get some kind of monetary, or even maybe they give you a game to give away or something like that, you're getting something. So there's always going to be potential bias no matter what, right? Even somebody like the Dice Tower, if they just get a copy of the game, that's still receiving something that is of monetary value. So you have to be careful, and I think that's the most important thing for me. So what I do is I script it out. You would in the movies. And I consider it to be, the first portion of my videos are usually a commercial of sorts that is also informative. And then afterwards, I break it down to my positives and my negatives. I tell people if I liked it, if my cameraman liked it, which is he does my editing and all that. And then I will tell them if the group liked it. So you'll have 3 differing opinions. And then I will finally, I will give them, the overall, what I think the audience would be for and whether they should pick it up. After the video is done, I will then have people watch it here, and I want to know if it's fair and, as balanced as I possibly can be, because I'm very, very careful, to make sure that I'm not being like that. And it's almost impossible not to be in certain circumstances, not for the monetary gain necessarily, or for the getting a game, but in terms of I really like deception games. So maybe this isn't the best deception game because I really enjoyed playing it with this group of people. I'm going to give it a better review overall when it actually might not be as mechanically sound or as a beautiful artwork. And a lot of it's subjective too. So, I mean, you can go into fine detail with all the things I think about it because honestly, I'm so picky about how I do things because I really want to come off a certain way. And I take critiques, whether they're completely negative or positive of my channel, I take them full-heartedly and I really think about it because I want to make sure that comes across. And so far I haven't got a lot of comments about that, about bias and everything like that, but if I do, I will actually go back into that video and look through it and see if I can make any changes or in how I do things and how I play games and even how we discuss them after they've been played a couple times. But yeah, definitely a very important topic. And there's a lot of people that have a lot of differing opinions. Some people say you should get nothing. I mean, if that's the case though, then people can't do this for a living, even if you're just marketing, right? And I also avoid paying for, there's nobody that pays for a review specifically from me because you can send me a game and I will review it for free. It's just going to take me 3 months and it's going to be a basic review. Yeah. If you wanted a banner ad and you wanted it done in next week, that's how I monetarily charge people. So I try and be very open and upfront about that kind of stuff. And if you don't like that or you think that that's potentially too much biasm for you, if you think that could lead to too much, I understand that too. And, there's nothing I can do about that other than say, like, there's a ton of other great reviewers out there that you can go ahead and check out. And I do watch them as well. So, yeah.
No, I mean, I think I've seen it, as always one of these things where as the board game market grows and turns more and more into like a multi-million to a multi-billion kind of dollar industry, then there will always be, just like the video game market, there's always going to be a kind of a scramble from the people that help sell the games. Which is what, if you are providing a preview service...
Don't even get me started about the video game industry. It can be rather incestuous too if you're not careful as well with how close you can be with certain companies. And as a reviewer, you have to distance yourself from the game and the people, which can be difficult even for me. Like, I really like breaking games, right? So I have to determine, what games of theirs I really enjoy and what I actually don't like, even though I really love all the people that work there that I've gotten to know. That's just a local company that, is around us. Mm-hmm. But as an example, and I think in the games industry, I can't speak too much on the subject, but I think you can see the ratings based on the critics and based on the users, and you will actually see quite a difference for a lot of games, and it makes you wonder why. So, I've been very public in the past. I used to review video games, so I was aware of certain things that were kind of going on, and it wasn't directly kind of, you should do this, but there was a kind of a subtle kind of, maybe if you do it this way, then it'll all be nice in the end, because remember, we've got this big hitter coming out towards the end of the year that I know that you guys need to review to get the traffic, and it was like that blatant kind of, pretty much slightly veiled threats that were coming from certain video game companies. And I've seen that, and it's always my fear for the board game industry is that you do get kind of as the board game industry gets bigger, you start to get kind of this, and the kind of the publishers start to meld together, that you start to have to deal with like a PR person. I've never ever had to deal with with a PR person in the board game industry so far, except maybe when I've dealt with, when I've maybe spoken to, say, Steamforged in the past, you had to go through a couple of people before I got to speak to, Dave Carroll, for instance. There are companies that do that in the industry of board games, and I mean, yes. I think it's a good service but it also hurts the company because if you're small, it's really hard to do that. And I mean, I try and avoid directly discussing things about my reviews with any of the publishers or the manufacturer, that kind of stuff like that. Yeah. But no, you're right. I mean, it's difficult. Like I said, I think the main thing is just be careful and really realize what you're doing and why you're saying the things you're saying, because I think that's the main thing you can do. Yeah. No matter what you're doing, whether it's you're a teacher or a reviewer or an influencer, I mean, you should just be very careful about what you say and how you say it. I think it's, that's, for me, that's the most important thing, is how I say things and what I say. So I try and think before I speak, which is, always learning.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of, do you also think that because you're doing Kickstarter, that if somebody doesn't like what they say in your preview, you're not always featured in the Kickstarter kind of video, or you'll just have a quote as well,
Sometimes they'll quote me if I give a negative review, but more negative than positive. So I usually try and give both. Unless, like I said, if the game's broken, then that's a whole different story. But if it's just a game I dislike for certain reasons, but saw that there is an audience for it, they'll usually pull a quote from me or something, which is fine. They'll usually put a link on there. If it's a video they really enjoy, they'll post it on the Kickstarter campaign. And if they just didn't appreciate it, or if I got some of the rules wrong based on how the rulebook was written, then they probably just don't do that. And that's fine too. I mean, that's they requested that, and I have it for them. If they don't want to use it, then that's on them. I totally get it, because I know what it's like. I mean, I've seen people say, well, all these Kickstarter preview videos that these guys do that are obviously, they're getting some money for it. They're biased shills because they're, you're just like, no, it's like, I am not gonna like collect quotes. I've got a page on the website, for We Are Not Wizards from previous guests who kind of like say, I asked them to kind of like say a few words about, what it was like being a guest. And if somebody said, you're the worst piece of garbage and you're self-centered, I never ever want to speak to you again, I'm not going to put that on the website, am I? It's not like I'm going to put, like, if I'm trying to get funding for something, I'm not necessarily going to put kind of, thought this game was unbalanced and the rulebook was written by somebody who was 7 years old and had never seen a board game in their life kind of thing. I'm not necessarily going to put that on my campaign kind of thing. So, it's different from, I think people confuse sometimes Kickstarter previews with Kickstarter reviews, and I think that's down to a bit of kind of education on that kind of on kind of that kind of thing. Is there because we do occasionally, I do not get 2 or 3 board games sent to me on a regular basis, but on occasion we have taken on board some Kickstarter kind of preview games to come on. Is there certain things which are absolute bugbears, which if you could reach out to people who are considering putting together a Kickstarter prototype to say to you, which you would say, look, if you do this, I will instantly have trouble doing anything with your game? Be more specific. Give me an example.
Rulebooks. Let's talk rulebooks.
Okay. If the rulebook isn't finished, or they've got some bad editing in there, if it's really bad, I'll actually even tell people I can't review their game. I'll just email them. Like, there's certain, I am okay with prototypes as long as they're not print and play. I can't do that. I don't have time for it. Even though some of the games I really like. I think I've made very few exceptions, but, in general, I don't do that. The only thing I do actually is print 3D miniatures for games because I have a 3D printer, but that's more for fun. But, yeah, so rulebooks, definitely. That's something that, if it's not done right, I'll have them actually have to rewrite it and send it to me. Which is cool though, because my wife actually does editing on the side. She actually is masters in language or English, and so she will actually correct rulebooks. I think that's another service on the site we have, but it's completely separate from what I do.
Yeah.
So I'm not in any way affiliated with that, but she's worked for Solar Flare Games and a bunch of other ones. She did the last Robotech rules actually. So, if you got terrible rules, there you go. So usually I will actually send them to her or something. As far as the games themselves, I don't like paper cards. I won't do that, and I won't sleeve cards anymore. It's just too time consuming. I can't, if it's going to take a lot of time for me to do, I mean, realistically, just filming and editing a video for me is going to be 6 to 7 hours. And playing the game and critiquing it, playing it again, and all that kind of thing, or getting the right crew for the game. It's a lot of time. So having to print them out and sleeve them and glue things together, No more of that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think that's something, again, that's maybe not fully understood as like a video. I mean, a podcast, this is quite simple. I'll just take out, I'll just take out any bits where I sound idiotic, which is usually most of the show, and then I'll put the intro music on and the outro music on, and I'll take out any kind of awkward breaks or pauses, and then it's kind of live. I looked at kind of video stuff, and I talked to a few video kind of creators, and the hours that you put into this stuff just kind of blows my mind. And I think that is sometimes forgotten, that when you guys review a game, I mean, it could be the case that, I mean, do you take a lot of takes, or do you generally kind of film and then cut bits in and out? I mean, kind of like with that process, I mean, do you do like 2 or 3 takes? You mentioned obviously your camera guy, they do a lot of the editing. So you just do reruns and then get the right take, or will you generally try and do it in a oneer and then go back and kind of annotate over any type of mistakes?
So based on Unfiltered Gamer, because I'm unfiltered, I like to try and keep everything is going to be 1 take per section, right?
Okay.
But those sections could be 20 seconds, so they could be 10 minutes, right?
Right.
So I want that flow of thought. Now, while still trying. Now, I also do make sure, as far as the rules are concerned, and as far as explaining the turn in order, I have that scripted. But in general, the review portion is kind of flow of thought, whereas everything else is kind of it's structured, so that way it looks good. And I like to do A roll, B roll, A roll, B roll, A roll, and then I'll add in other bits and pieces, and then I throw in my editing. Usually we will usually introduce the game. We will then show off the components. We will then talk about the turns and how it's going to feel to play the game. And then in some of our reviews, we will actually play a few turns.
Yeah.
Just so people get a feel of the game. And then afterwards, I will explain what I didn't like, what I did like, what audience it's for, what audience it's not for. And then after that, we'll do a little outro, and I'll talk about what's in the works and what giveaways we got and what our friends at Everything Board Games do and that kind of stuff. So I like to do little shout outs if I can. And we usually throw in the editing. Sometimes I'll do something funny like make really terrible 80s style editing.
Okay. Like what, backcomb your hair and stuff like that?
I've dressed up as a pirate. I've had my dog be Godzilla. I mean, I've just done some weird things.
Is it, with you doing this as a business, do you still, have you got to keep the focus on the fun as well, the focus on it being enjoyable? I mean, is it, do you get days where you're kind of like, you're getting up out of bed and you're saying, I've got to film this for 5 hours and I just really can't, I'm not really having a good day today. Do you have to put on kind of like your film presenter type face and just kind of plow on with it? Yeah.
Usually when, if it's specifically a walkthrough, I like to keep the energy up the entire time, because walkthroughs can be very, very boring.
Yeah.
And a lot of the reviewers, in my opinion, do walkthroughs on YouTube are very, very tiresome. I can't sit through it. My attention span is low if I'm not being entertained. So I try and keep the energy level up. I try and show off the cards. Something like Tabletop was an excellent walkthrough, right, of a game or playthrough. So I'm nowhere near the editing for that, because I could do something like that, but it would take a lot more time and a lot better equipment. However, I do have to put that face on, and there's a lot of days, especially when it's really packed, where it's just like, I've got to do, these 3 things today, including these other 3 things, and then I have to finish my editing. I have 12-hour days, and that can be really exhausting. I actually play less games now than I used to when I did it, specifically as just a hobby.
No, I completely
just because
understand
now
that.
I have to film and edit, and so I'll still get a game in a day or so, 2 games in, and I have to play that game a couple times. But it's a different process entirely. But at the same time, I still have that core love of board games and love of the innovation of games.
So sometimes, I mean, I take it you'll be reviewing a game and something will happen that will surprise you, and you'll be like, wow, this is... I mean, have you ever done that with it? You know, if you've played a game where the game's like turned around the mechanically and you've went, well, this is okay, and then it's like, wow, this is really actually cool. I've kind of turned my head on this, and you maybe look at it in a slightly different kind of light.
Yeah, Expansity was the most recent one. It basically just comes with a bunch of buildings and some cards and some tiles. And I was like, okay, so you're just building little towers. Maybe it's going to be like an acquire-based thing. I don't know. I'll give it a shot, though. People say it's good. As we're playing it, I'm like, oh, this is okay. And then the more I played it, I was like, wow. It actually shows the city being built, and based on how you build the city is what the city is going to look like. You're going to have residentials next to parks. You're going to have the hospital in the commercial district. And you see the Sim City theme and feel come to life, and then you get that nostalgia. And that was really interesting and really innovative to me. I haven't seen a game that does something like that before. So, yeah, I get those. I'm going to say they're few and far between because, you know, a lot of the mechanics almost have been found, I guess, or I guess they're still waiting to be found. And when those gems pop up, I mean, like I said, that game's probably one of my top 5 of this year. It is a very pleasant surprise.
Is there games that people are kind of going hype crazy mad for that you're just kind of like going, yeah, I kind of played another 7 of these games already this year, so I can see why everybody is excited for it because of the hype, as opposed to people being excited for it because it's actually doing something kind of, you know, different and new and things like that. I think the latest one for me was Root. You know, I like Root. You know, I really, really enjoy Root. But then, I've been watching the kind of the playthrough videos for Vast, which is the one before kind of Root. And it seems to be kind of like, it seems to be Root +5. But I heard kind of there was a little bit of a buzz going round when Vast came out. But Root this year, there seems to be a massive buzz, you know, kind of going about Root and how amazing it was and how kind of fantastic it was. And it's like this mixture between something being hyped up to the heavens and actually something being actually very, very good as kind of a game. Do you see that? I mean, that's Kickstarter to a T at the moment. I mean, I wrote a piece recently about, you know, how hype seems to have taken over, come from something being a kind of a good idea.
I mean, I guess an easy one to pick on, I guess would be CMON. A lot of their games recently have had very little interest in, but when they first were making games, Rising Sun and the others are favorites of mine. I really enjoy those games. Provided in Rising Sun you're playing either 4 or 6 players. You want to play even. But the new ones, such as I guess the Game of Thrones one, that one just felt like a less substantial version of Warhammer. I mean, it's minis for minis' sake. Yeah, but I'm not sure because I haven't played it. But it just felt like that was what they're going for. I want to see in-depth and interesting and intriguing gameplay. With the others, it had this track that changed based on how much corruption you wanted, you know. But you know, just pumping out minis is probably not going to be enough for people after a certain period of time. But it's still going to drive a lot of hype. And I mean, they make tons of money, so I'm sure they're not going to be too offended by my opinion on their most recent games. But you know, I see that quite a bit. I see those kind of like companies that are just like, let's produce this game that we've made already, or another altered version of a game that already made money. And it's like, oh wow, this whole new thing's coming out again. I mean, I guess Arcadia Quest would be another one that is like, well, you know, they've made it, now they're making 5 additional, you know, 30 pounds of minis. But yeah, that actually happens too on a lower scale as well. There are a lot of companies that do Cards Against Humanity version 2.0.
Oh my word, yeah. Yeah, I know, I've seen that, yeah.
You know, or Exploding Kittens version 2.0. There's a lot of that stuff, which is also, you know, they try and steal the hype, and it usually backfires for them, unfortunately, because you're not creating new enough content. So that's the opposite side on the more individualistic or like indie, you know. Yeah,
I've joked about this before, but if somebody says to me it's it's an adult card game, I always write back and say, "What are you talking about? Me paying my mortgage or my rent on time? Are we talking about my utilities? Me getting my car fixed?" Because that to me is the idea of a game about being an adult. Somebody making fart jokes and making offensive, rude jokes about other people is kind of like that's you being 13. That's not you being an adult in my kind of...
I mean, I don't like Cards Against Humanity. It's not a favorite of mine. I probably wouldn't play it if you asked me to. There's a lot of better versions of that game out, Cult Following being one of them. I just gave you a little plug in there, guys. But, it's... that's hype for hype's sense. That's why Cards Against Humanity has made 1 million copies of the same game. I don't think they've actually made a unique game ever. Secret Hitler's Resistance and Cards Against Humanity's Apples to Apples. Let's make it more offensive and it'll sell. And it did, so, I mean, good on them. Smart marketing.
Yeah, no, exactly. Do you, what about things like Keyforge and things like that? I mean, when you're talking about Kickstarter games, but do you kind of keep an eye on things, what's happening with that? And with regards to kind of like, the kind of the videos, have you thought about kind of crossing over and creating kind of content which you knew would get more people kind of viewing the channel?
Good question. Do I create content of hype games that will easily net me views? I am kind
of saying that, yeah. I think, you have to build your audience, don't you,
No, that's a legit point. And, the answer is sometimes. If I get a game from a company that wants me to go ahead and review it, if I get about 2 or 3 months, I will put a video out. If it's something that's really popular, like the game Root, that was very popular. I got that game from Letter Games. I guess maybe a week before it came out. And I put out a video for that as well. I mean, realistically, I just queue things up in order of when they come, and then I put the videos out. I like the idea of that, but realistically, I want to try and help other people more than myself, and then in turn, when they share it and stuff like that, that's kind of how I build my audience. As opposed to just going, okay, what's the newest thing on the hype train? Oh, that's the newest thing? Okay, well, I'll buy that game and review it and hope I make enough views or enough subscribers to be worth the cost,
No, I get completely where you're coming from with that, because it can be the same with podcasts as well. I mean, you can see, all of a sudden everybody's interviewing the same guy. It's like when you get a celebrity going around promoting the next film, and you've got, it's across all the different kind of major networks, because, Hugh Jackman is talking about doing the latest kind of film that he's involved in. And it's like everybody is doing the interview with that person, because they're going out and they're trying to create noise and kind of create an interest. And it's, for us, I mean, personally for myself, it is difficult sometimes to say, well, listen, if we get this person on, are people gonna, who are interested in the game, are they gonna catch on? Are they gonna listen to the podcast? But I think sometimes what happens is that you'll get people visiting just for that episode, and then they'll go back and do what they were doing before anyway, and you're gaining maybe a little bit, but you're not kind of gaining, as much as you think, you could possibly kind of gain from completely chasing. And also, there's so many games coming out, Michael. I mean, it's impossible to keep up with everything that's going on. I mean, last week it's Keyforge, and then it's Discover, before that, and then everybody's talking about obviously Root coming out, and then people are talking about, people are just talking about Simon as a company. People are talking about, Horizon Zero Dawn on Kickstarter. So every single week there seems to be some kind of latest thing that's coming out, and it becomes either kind of end up playing the chasing game all the time, and you end up getting jaded and exhausted because you don't see a growth in what you're doing. Or you say, you know what, we'll just continue doing what we're doing, basically, and kind of do it that way. Have you thought about, and I know you're obviously a busy guy and doing things as, this is your business. Have you ever thought about kind of getting some cards yourself, scoping a couple of games out? Is there the kind of the Michael Wright doing it right, designing his game night kind of thing? I mean, is that
have I designed a game? Is that what you're going at?
Yeah.
So the answer is yes. There is a game that I have that I've been fiddling with.
Yeah.
And it's ready, but it's not ready. So I'm gonna not be talking about it too much. But the idea is it's something different, a little innovative, but still it's not a very large game because your first game should generally be small so you can build the audience. But it's I've got something going on that I think has a good theme.
Okay, cool. And that's all you're going to say. You're not going to give us a world. You're not going to give us a world exclusive. You're not going to say, "I'll tell you what. I'll whisper. Just whisper to me, and I'll not tell. I'll not tell anybody at all."
I give you a little bit of a theme, I suppose. How about that? Okay. That'll be the first time I've talked about it on a podcast or anywhere.
Okay.
So it is a game that you will be trapped in a cryogenic tube or cryogenic chamber that has broken along with other players, and your objective is to escape. That's the end. Think Fallout, sort of, where you're in those tubes and then you get out of the Fallout, the Fallout chambers.
Yeah.
But the game is going to revolve around you being stuck in a tube. Yes. Well, it sounds very interesting, I know.
No, but then I don't kind of, I never kind of question what somebody's theme is because there's so many games that, if somebody said to me, Woodland Animals, you'd be really liking a game that's all about woodland animals kind of taking over territory. I'd be like, yeah, okay, whatever, thanks, okay, go on, back to bed. You've obviously been dreaming, but here we are with kind of root and things like that. So again, is that almost like, it must be strange, is that you're kind of like a hobby at the moment at the side that you're doing with the game design?
I don't want to be, I gotta be careful with how I come across with, am I a designer or a reviewer, an influencer? So, it might be something that I give to another company after I've kind of, made it and, designed it fully, then given it to them. They'll maybe clean up the theme or the rules, but that might happen. Maybe I'll just make it myself. I don't think I'll be doing a Kickstarter, specifically myself, the Unfiltered Gamer brand. It's not something that I think is going to be happening. I might eat my words on that, but I'm fairly certain I don't want to do that.
You can just imagine you just slamming it on the table and saying, "Cryotube Stories, buy it, it's fantastic. I don't know who this guy is, I've never heard of them. That's not our logo on the front of the box kind of way, but get it anyway."
That's what I'm thinking. Like, I don't want to be promoting my own game. I don't like that idea. So maybe I'll just sell it to somebody for $1 million and they can make $2 million off of it. That's exactly what would happen. That's exactly what happened. Yeah.
That's definitely destined to get what happened. Whether you being
surrounded. All right,
Simon,
make the first micro card game or card game that you've ever made. There you go.
There you go. And here's some of my soul, just to go with it. With you being surrounded by cardboard so much. I know we said that the game design stuff is a hobby, but do you consciously then make sure you're making an effort to, I guess, get away from board gaming as well? I mean, do you kind of do other kind of hobbies as well? Or are you fully concentrated on, I
play, on Facebook, I've played some Overwatch and stuff with other community members. I'm on the Blizzard games on the occasion, so if you're a designer or something like that, you want to play some Overwatch, I'll done that. There's a couple little phone games and stuff, but other than my actual hobbies being fishing, which I try and do on the weekends once every 2 weeks, I'll go out to the pier and do something like that, or the lake. And, and I like to build stuff. I've got a full garden in the back, so I grow peppers, and I also will give out hot sauce once a season to the board game industry. I'll pump out a hot sauce. Pay for shipping, have some ridiculously hot sauce.
So do you put the little fireball symbol on the side of the bottles then when you're doing the hot sauce? Because if
I do.
You do, of course you do. Because that would make absolutely no sense if you didn't, and you'd be scorned into oblivion if you hadn't doing it. Is it actually called Unfiltered Sauce?
Well, I've named them in the past. I'm thinking about actually making a little nicer this next season, but we'll see. It's one of those things I do as a side hobby, you know, and it gets about like 1% attention. I like growing things more than I like handling hot sauce, so
okay.
Get your eyes all burny and whatnot. But yeah, I do enjoy it. I'll let you know if I actually start marketing it worldwide.
I think that would be fantastic. You know what I mean? From the guys that bought you hot and fiery, Kickstarter Previews. They're about to bring something
hot and fiery pepper sauce.
Stick it on your burrito. Stick it on your steak. Man, stick it in your tea. This thing's going to be wild. It's the Unfiltered Sauce by Michael Wright. And it just cuts to you turning around and going, "Get that sauce," and
Beautiful.
the world would be fantastic. I'm surprised actually I was going to say I'm surprised you've not done a game based around peppers, but I believe there is already a game based around peppers, because we are heading into kind of like the Rule 37 of board games, which is if there is a topic that somebody asks, is there a board game based around that, then a board game magically appears from nowhere that actually
Walk of Fire.
Exactly. It has that theme, you know, so that's kind of fine. I guess but on the fishing side of things, is that just something you just sit about, kind of like get the line out, you know, just sit there, contemplate things, allows you to give you a bit of thinking space as well?
Oh yeah, it's a nice, like, relaxing thing. I started doing it with my buddy before we were doing this. It was, you know, I'd be filming, working in LA for a while, and then I'd come home, and I'd be so burnt out that sitting around, having a beer, you know, not catching fish is an enjoyable hobby.
Yeah. It's just like it's a good conversation that's interrupted by about 5 minutes of mad activity. I believe fishing, the type of fishing I've ever been involved in, has generally been sitting down, cracking open a cold one, having a chat, and then somebody going, "Oh wait," and then there's been kind of like mad thrashing about, and everything's been kind of from there. I have one more question for you.
You got it.
For you. Okay. You are in the middle.
Go ahead, you can ask
of it. You're in the middle of the zombie apocalypse. Okay?
Yep.
You're fighting your way through the undead hordes, and you rush up an alley. And on the right-hand side of the alley, there's a slightly open door. When you go into the door and shut it behind you with the undead horde banging against the door, you discover that you are in one of the biggest board game emporiums of all time. It seems to have everything that you could want and dream for. Anything and everything. First editions, second editions, okay? In the middle of the floor, there is a cart. Like a little kind of, you know, red cart. Made out of plastic. It's got wheels. And you've got the opportunity to take any 3 board games with you. Now, you can have any games at all. You can have expansions. You can have anything is open. The cart will fit whatever 3 you decide to take. Wherever you go, whether you meet people by themselves or people in groups, the answer to the question whether or not they want to play a board game is always going to be yes. So, Michael, what 3 games do you take with you on your zombie-fested adventure?
Oh my gosh. That is the most in-depth question for what are my 3 favorite games I've ever had. So I'm gonna, I guess, piece this down to 3 games that are best going to fit 3 different groups. So I guess one of them would have to be Resistance. That's a solid group game, and I enjoy the trader aspect, so I think that's going to be a solid pick. I played a bunch of it too, but I still enjoy it every time. Let's see, a smaller game. Gosh, this is tough. This is a difficult question.
Yeah, it's not easy. Yeah, I know. But it's the apocalypse, Michael, and you've got to watch out because the banging is becoming louder and Oh, is that the tinkle of glass that I can hear? Has maybe somebody managed to break through the window? You better hurry up.
I guess to save... I guess my wife might be with me in this case, so to save for my sanity and make sure that they're not all competitive, I'd probably take something like... Oh, Thanos Rising sounds good right now. It's a good, solid, cooperative game that we don't have to kill each other in. Yeah, I gotta be careful. I know how she can get pretty competitive, so...
There you go.
And one more. What other
One
good
more?
ones?
Yeah,
One
come on.
more. I guess to tickle my fancy, I'd probably go with The Others from CMON. I really enjoyed that game, but it might be overtaken by Solomon Kane. We'll see. But The Others, by Coleman or not, is a really cool mid-player game that I enjoy. It's got a really cool theme, and it's got a lot of stuff in it, so it has a lot of replayability.
I've still got to play that, and I was looking at the rules video the other day, so it's probably one of the games I would take with me as well. So you put them in the cart, you disappear out a different fire exit, you run off into further adventures, kind of like Kane and Kung Fu, but with board games. And we can expand on that, and we can expand on that on another time.
Make it a running RPG at the very end of the segment every time. All right, I like it.
Thank you very, very much for coming on, Michael.
I am more than happy.
If people want to find out where you exist on the internet webs, where do you exist on the internet webs?
All right, make it easy. Google Unfiltered Gamer. You'll find me.
There you go. There you go. You're on YouTube. You're on Twitter. You're on Facebook.
You Google my name, you'll have 10 different results.
10 different things.
And you can go ahead and click on whatever you want.
Whatever and we will
tickles your fancy. No Tumblr though, but everything else.
We will make sure that we put as many links as we can find in the show notes so that we have notes to show. If you want to keep an eye on what we're up to, then we also exist on the internet webs, and all you need to do is go to the Googles and search for We're Not Wizards, and you will find us on such wonderful places like Twitter and Facebook, and we are on Tumblr. I have no idea why we're on Tumblr, but apparently we're on Tumblr.
We're also on needs more Not Wizards.
Exactly. And we're also on places like Instagram, and we've got our website, which is we'renotwizards.com, and we've also got our blogs, which is we'renotwizards.blogspot.com. If you like YouTube, you can listen to us on YouTube. If you like looking at previews and reviews and stuff, go and check out the Unfiltered Gamer. Give it a subscription.
The Unfiltered Chick.
Just watch it. It's fantastic. And if you really like what you've listened to tonight, please jump onto Apple Podcasts and drop us a subscription. If you like us even more than that, then give us a rating or a review. If you are going to be giving us a rating or a review, as we say, do not give us 10 stars, because that makes us big-headed. But do not give us 1 star, because that makes us cry.
Isn't a solid like 8? Isn't that what the comedians always say? Give them 8, you know? It shows that you care, but you're not like over-caring and you're not under-caring. 8 is the solid number?
It only goes up to 5, so you're ruining the joke, Michael, but thanks very much for...
You're welcome. I mean, it's something I like to do. Why did you say 10 stars if you can't even rate 10 stars?
Why are you just, ruining everything in the last 2 minutes? It's been nice,
I jump in and try and mess things up for you. That's how I do it.
That's fun. Thank you very, very much. I really, really, really appreciate it. And if you can give me 10 minutes, I'm just going to go away and downvote some videos.
Beautiful. There's one guy that does that every video. Just one guy. I know it too.
But what we do say is, remember, give us 5 stars because it's in the middle and we're average and we're just that little bit average. But the person who hasn't been average tonight, well, I was going to say he hasn't been average tonight, but he's obviously ruined everything now, is the rather wonderful, the rather fantastic Michael Wright.
Rather handsome?
I was going to say stunning. stunning.
That's even better. I love it.
A specimen of a man with wonderful hair. Do you have a hair care regime, by the way, or do you just let it?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I take care of it. I make sure it's lush, flowing, golden brown locks.
boisterous. I bet you wash and you have
Unfiltered
days where
hair
you
care
condition.
products.
You go with extra chili sauce.
Of course. That's the secret ingredient.
Oh my word. That's an entire podcast in itself. Well, that means you have to come back. Now, there's only two more things to do. The first thing is to remember that we are many things, but we're not wizards. Are we wizards, Michael?
Yes.
I really just grow to not like you.
Was that a no? I don't. What? Yes, of course we're wizards. I mean, right?
No.
Okay. No, we're not.
No, yeah, okay. And the next thing is to say goodbye. So it's a goodbye from Michael. Say goodbye, Michael.
I look forward to seeing you guys next time.
Okay. And it's a goodbye from me. Remember, stay safe, roll6s.com. And remember, there are a plethora of wonderful media people out there who are talented, funny, passionate about their work. And there's also the Unfiltered Gamer channel as well. But until the next time, goodbye.
Arse.
A wizard is never late. Nor is he early. He arrives precisely when he means to.